Okay, so starting off today's show, I wanted to talk about the game on Sunday between the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think going into this one, it was a big game for a lot of people just because, it was that typical Sunday afternoon 4:30 game that all of America got to see. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the call. And if you watch the game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just absolutely destroyed the Green Bay Packers. And for me, I don't think it's a stunner that okay, the Buccaneers beat the Green Bay Packers. If you would have told me that was going to be the result before the game, I wouldn't have been surprised at all. I was just very, very surprised how exactly the game went down. The Packers were up 10-0 early, and all of a sudden, the game shifted really, really quickly. And Aaron Rodgers, this is a guy that doesn't really throw pick sixes, but he just had an off day. He has had three pick sixes in his career, right? Two of those pick sixes have come in Tampa Bay. And when this guy is pressured, I think that's when he's at his worst. We know how talented of a player Aaron Rodgers is and just some of the stuff he's done throughout his NFL career. But at the same time, this is a guy that the one time that you could beat him the most is when you could pressure him a little bit. And I think that's exactly what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did here. That's when he's at his most vulnerable. And Tampa Bay, I was just so impressed with their defense's ability to carry their team in this game. The Buccaneers hit him 12 times. And as I just said, that is how you beat the Green Bay Packers and this offense, because their defense could play. This is the first time I really watched a Tampa Bay Buccaneer game in 2020 and said to myself, wow, Tampa Bay's defense was the main reason why they won that game, and that was the main reason why they won over a really good football team. Even though Todd Bowles was not a very good head coach for my New York Jets, that was a great job by Todd Bowles calling the plays and calling the blitzes. I give him and the Buccaneers defense a lot of credit. If you could beat the blitz, you must stop the Buccaneers. And that's kind of what the opposite of what the Green Bay Packers did. Once the Packers gave up the lead, the Buccaneers were able to blitz the whole game. Because when you're Green Bay, right, besides Devontae Adams, you look at the Packers' weapons and you don't look at anyone and say, all right, that's a guy that I'm afraid will beat me downfield. Guys like Equinemius St. Brown and even Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who I don't think is that bad, he's just not a threat right now. And I think when you look at Green Bay, that is one of the real weaknesses of their team. And we knew that going into the season. And so far, Aaron Rodgers, I think, has done a nice job covering it up. Alan Lazard hurt as well. That doesn't help the cause. But going back to what Tampa Bay's defense was able to do in this game, JPP, William Golson, Shaq Barrett were all able to get to the quarterback. Super impressive. Levante David and Devin White at linebacker were able to make every tackle and every play down the stretch. And also, I was really impressed with the way Tampa Bay was able to shut down the Green Bay Packers run game without Vita Vea, who, if you were paying attention to Tampa Bay throughout their first couple games of the season, was one of the main reasons why I think their defense was playing so well. He was just really stuffing the run. He got hurt out for the season in that Thursday night game against the Chicago Bears, and especially going into this Thursday night game against the Green Bay Packers, I did kind of expect Vita Vea to be a huge loss, but Tampa Bay really wasn't struck by it, as their defense in this game really did come to play and shut down that Green Bay Packers offensive attack as a whole. I think there's a legitimate reason why Tom Brady decided to leave the New England Patriots to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's because around the quarterback position in Tampa Bay, there is still a significant amount of talent. When you look at the way their defense played with all those names, when you look at the way Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Ronald Jones, and some of the other weapons for this Buccaneer team was able to help him out, I think that's a really good sign for the Buccaneers going forward when you look at the fact that Tom Brady didn't really do anything in this game. His numbers were fine, didn't really blow you out of the water on the stat sheet, and they still won by 28 points. Right now, when I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I see a team that's 4-2, a team that to me is clearly the third best team in the NFC, and I think that's a good sign for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going forward. Or is it a bad sign? And I'll explain to you what I mean. Is that even though Tampa Bay won this game, and I give them a lot of credit for that, Tampa Bay's both their offense and their defense have really exceeded my expectations so far this season. I think Tom Brady's played really well since that Week 1 game against the New Orleans Saints. Same with their defense. As I said, their defense yesterday, I was super impressed with the way their defense was just able to carry them and beat a really good team. My only issue is, even with both of those units out exceeding my expectations, I still don't know if I'm willing to take Tampa Bay over Green Bay or Seattle in January. If you listen to the show, you guys know that's the one thing I kind of base everything around is January and how do I expect each team to do in January. And I just have a hard time thinking Tom Brady is going to outduel Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson in a big game. When I look at this game yesterday, I kind of think that Aaron Rodgers played so badly yesterday, right? He was just so bad that I can't see it happening again. He doesn't throw pick sixes, and he happens to throw one yesterday. Going into yesterday's game, this is a guy that had 2 pick sixes in his whole career, and he threw one yesterday. So I do think Aaron Rodgers will be able to get himself going if these two teams see each other again. But Tampa Bay, it's a really good sign because if you would have told me before the season Tampa Bay would be the third best team in the NFC, I would say, all right, something is going really well for Bruce Arians and company, and we'll see how they do over the next couple weeks. I know they have the Raiders on Sunday Night Football this week on the road, which should be a fascinating game. The Raiders are coming off a bye, so they're going to be ready to play in that one. And the good thing about Tampa Bay also here, when I look at their offense, was going into, the last couple games, and really I remember talking about this after the Buccaneers lost in Week 1 to the New Orleans Saints, I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, Tom Brady looked a little old, and the weapons don't really look in sync. And obviously, that's not surprising when you consider the fact that we didn't really have the full training camp this offseason, given the conditions with COVID. But when you look at Tom Brady and the way Tampa Bay won on Sunday, I was really impressed with the way he got some of the other weapons involved. Gronk had a big impact, which is huge. Gronk really hasn't done much this whole season. He scores his first touchdown, super productive there. Ronald Jones looks like a legitimate top 12 running back in the NFL. He's super dynamic, and I think him running the ball, looking like USC Ronald Jones, is a good sign for Tampa Bay going forward. Brady and Evans, I don't even think have developed that big-time chemistry downfield yet, and Chris Godwin, who's been banged up, just decided to play this week, and he's back in the mix now. So that's a good sign going forward for Tampa Bay. So if you're the Buccaneers, I do think after this game you look at it and say, we're in a pretty good spot right now. I could confidently say I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the best team in the NFC South. They're significantly better than New Orleans. I still realize they have to play again, but that game is going to be in Tampa Bay right now. I would give the edge to the Buccaneers in that game. Carolina, they've been better than most people have expected, but they just lost at home to the Chicago Bears in a game they easily could have won. And the Falcons, I know they won on Sunday over the Vikings, but they just fired their coach, so let's calm down with them. So when you consider that, and you also consider the fact that there really isn't a good team in the NFC East right now, whoever wins that division, I don't think anyone is going to take seriously as a legitimate threat to go anywhere in the NFC playoffs. So as a whole, I think you look at the way this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team has played so far this season, and you're going to be pretty optimistic. As for the Green Bay Packers here, Aaron Rodgers said after the game that they needed a little bit of a wake-up call, and obviously you don't want to lose. But I'm kind of a big believer in the theory that in the NFL, bleep happens. And what I mean by that is this. I understand that your team plays 16 games, but I just think in this league, just crazy thing happen after crazy thing occurs, crazy thing after crazy thing after crazy thing just occurs on the week-to-week basis. And when you look at the Green Bay Packers right now, I'm not really that concerned after this loss just because they were kind of due. They didn't lose a game all season, and I think this game really did change after that Aaron Rodgers pick six. And the one concern I have for Green Bay, which I mentioned earlier in this segment, is that when you shut down Devontae Adams, I don't know who else could really beat you. And I like Aaron Jones, but the running game was kind of non-existent for Green Bay on Sunday. That's the other thing I was kind of concerned about for Green Bay in this game. I've never seen the Green Bay Packers offensive line, probably like within the last 5-6 years, just get absolutely demolished like that. David Bakhtiari went down early, so maybe that had something to do with it, but even when he was still in the game, I was just so impressed by the way Tampa Bay's defensive line was able to generate pressure on Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers couldn't really do anything about it. That is kind of the one way you could beat this guy, and I was just so impressed with the way Tampa Bay was able to generate pressure. The Buccaneers were able to move the ball. The Packers, I think their defense as a whole needs to be better, and they just had a bad day. Now, if you're a Packer fan, the good news here is your schedule does get much easier over the next couple weeks. You do play the AFC South this season, so you have a road game against Houston. You have a home game against Jacksonville. Those should be the games you take advantage of. And even in the NFC North, you look at the standings right now, as crazy as this sounds, Chicago is right on your heels. You haven't played them yet, so in the two head-to-head matchups between Green Bay and Chicago, those are obviously going to be two big factors to look for. How does those two teams play against each other? But we'll see what Green Bay is able to do next week on the road in Houston. The Texans are another team coming off a really tough loss, and I think there are going to be people who do maybe overreact a little bit to this Green Bay Packer loss on Sunday against the Buccaneers. And I'm not going to really do that. I saw the loss coming. I just think the Packers had a bad day. But at the same time, the Buccaneers, they really needed this game more. It's not a stunner to me that the Buccaneers won. I was just kind of shocked the way they did and how quickly the game really did turn after that after that Aaron Rodgers pick six. Because once that happened, the game really did change quickly. And if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, you have to be feeling pretty good right now.